Dear chess friends, welcome to your Out of Chess channel and welcome to an absolutely crazy and spectacular game from the round 2 of the Qatar Masters in 2023. So the game that I'll show you now will be written, I think, in many chess history books. The game that I'll show you now will be a subject of many chess talks for sure. We have here an amazing game between Alisher Suleymenov against the strongest player in the world, Magnus Carlsen. And Alisher Suleymenov, really interesting player. He became Grandmaster now this year, and the rating difference between Suleymenov and Magnus Carlsen is more than 300 rating points, which is really crazy. I'm not going to reveal what happened. It was really crazy game, spectacular game with great tactics. Pay good attention, put your seatbelts on, and enjoy really in a beautiful, sharp tactical game. So, with the white pieces, Alisher Suleymenov opened with the move d4. Magnus' response was knight to f6, c4. We have e6, knight to f3 here by Alisher Suleymenov. He's not allowing to get pinned, of course, by the bishop. He's trying to play this anti-Nimzo or counter-Nimzo Indian setup. So here, b6 was played by Magnus Carlsen, going into the queen's Indian defense. And now here Alisher Suleymenov, rather than to go into this fianchetto ideas, which are very common and usual to play against the queen's Indian defense, he plays an interesting idea, a3. He's basically battling against the strategic concepts of black by to play the move bishop to b4, bishop to b7. When you play knight to c3, then you get pinned. Then of course the knight cannot move here with bishop to b7. Then also with the support of the knight, we're controlling the e4 square. So this is a beautiful concept how to avoid, I think, the basic strategic concepts of black with a simple tiny little move, which is called, of course, this Petrosian variation of the queen's in the defense. So here Magnus goes now again into this tricky line with bishop to a6. He's simply attacking now the pawn on c4. Here Alisher Suleymenov plays now the move queen to c2, protects now the pawn, and is of course trying the main goal, knight to c3, e4. Now knight to c3 is perfectly fine because you cannot get pinned by the dark square bishop. Here in the continuation, Magnus is trying now finally to battle for the e4 square, but here after knight to c3 we have c5, and now comes a very important move, e4 anyway, because now the huge threat is to play the move d5. What should black do? In the game, c takes d4 was played by Magnus Carlsen. Knight to d4 by Alisher Suleymenov. Really a beautiful central control that he has now. This structure becomes now similar to the Marozzi bind of the Sicilian defense. It's of course not the Sicilian, but when you trade off the c pawn for white d pawn and you push this pawn on c and e4, this becomes now really this Marozzi bind structure. It's of course a very unpleasant structure to handle because white has occupied the center. White is now the powerful knight, and the good part, look at this, also about this move a3, is that you can always prepare the move b4. Usually against these types of structures, black is trying to fix somehow his position around the square c5, somehow to get a grip around the square c5 or around the square e5. But none of the squares can be really taken because c5, if you play something on c5, it will be met with b4. If you play something like on e5, then it will be met with f4. So basically here black is a little bit pushed away by white's beautiful space advantage. What should black do now? d5. For instance, in this particular position, although you have a great control of the d5 square from black's perspective, is a suicide because white will simply take, you take, and now bishop to b5, e5. So it's almost like you're getting destroyed in an early stage of the game. So this is something that I would not recommend here. Take your time when you maybe are launching the d5 without calcing. It could be really risky here. So that's why from knight to d4, Magnus plays now the move bishop to c5. Here Alisher Suleymenov retreats, calm move, beautiful choice. And what should now again black do? If you try here a5 to maybe stop white's progress with b4, then here look at this, bishop to f4, rook to d1, knight to b5, I think are the next couple of good moves. Of course, maybe we're vulnerable a little bit here around the square e4, bishop to d3 first, but knight to b5, I think you're getting destroyed around the square d6 in the next couple of moves, so this is not working. After knight to f3, here Magnus played knight to c6, and now b4 by Alisher Suleymenov. Really beautiful move. Where are you going to go with your bishop? Bishop to e7 has to be played now by Magnus Carlsen. So we have bishop to b2. We have queen to b8. Risky choice by Magnus Carlsen, but understandable because Magnus is trying now maybe to finally liberate the long diagonal for the light square bishop. We'll try to play the move knight to e5, and here of course black should be perfectly fine. If you play queen to c7 in order to make the same thing, then again with knight to b5, white of course gets an extra tempo. Interesting choice by Magnus Carlsen, but the follow-up has to be of course very accurate. And so here rook to d1, beautiful again development move here by Alisher Suleymenov. We have kingside castling, bishop to e2, normal development, and now d6 by Magnus Carlsen. This is now this flexible, I like to call this chevening structure, like in the Sicilian, where you're trying again to somehow break and enter with the move e5, try to break and enter with the move d5, but usually after move kingside castling, you are meeting this idea with the move rook to d8. In my opinion, this should be a normal choice here for black, but Magnus Carlsen played, I think, here very risky move, rook to c8. Of course, you're placing the rook where already the queen is, but black doesn't have anything, I think, here on the c file. White can always get into the defense with queen to b3, getting out of this mess and still control the d5 square, and then slowly but surely battle against the d6 weakness. Risky choice here by Magnus Carlsen. In the game, rook from f to e1. Again, beautiful normal development move. White doesn't have to rush here. White has to first of all develop the minor pieces, and what then White is trying to do is maybe get some spaces with f4, maybe also to attack. So when we get our space advantage like white is here, then we're trying even to get more spaces. So I think normal development here, normal moves are perfectly fine. You don't rush, you don't have to do anything. First of all, black has to also show his cards. What should black do? Here in the game, I think you should continue with the normal plan, knight to d7 with knight to e5 that Magnus started in the first place, because it's very crucial, I think, here to develop your light square bishop. The light square bishop is now blocked out by its own knight. Maybe this was the way to go. Look at this. We play queen to b3, and now with knight to e5, you're also attacking the c4 pawn. If you're trying to do this, I think this would be also a natural continuation for black. But Magnus after rook to from f to e1 played now bishop to f8. So far, he has still a great grip around the square d6. Here, Alisher Suleymenov also plays a normal move, and now the fun starts. So we had now really positional struggle, positional battle. Now it becomes really a brutal tactical collision. What should again black do? Again, I like this plan, knight to d7, knight to e5. This is, in my opinion, perfectly fine. Or maybe even knight to e5. Immediately, if you want to play more tactical chess, d takes e5 leads into an imbalanced pawn structure, leads into an asymmetrical pawn structure in which many things can happen. But from an endgame's perspective, this should be much better for white, because we can always create easily a passer. So this line is not good. I think the normal plan with knight to d7 is perfectly fine. But Magnus plays now a risky idea, knight to e7. And as I said in the beginning, rook to d8 is usually the natural plan, because you have to protect your d6 pawn. Magnus gets challenged immediately. Here, Alisher Suleymenov is saying, show me what you got. How are you going to defend now this weak pawn on d6? And Magnus doesn't react correctly immediately. Really wild stuff. The best choice here is to play the move knight to g6, protecting simply your d6 weakness. Probably white would then continue with bishop to f6. After g takes f6 and something like queen to d3, rook to d8, I think still that this should be a playable position for black. With a6 you kick away the knight. Maybe then later you have opportunities to break and enter with the move d5 or something. But Magnus played now the move knight to e8. Huge mistake. And here Alisher Suleymenov played, I think, really a beautiful attack now with the white pieces. Look what happens. Here Alisher realized the problems of blacks. First of all, there is a tactical threat, e5, queen to h7, delivering checkmate. In order to prevent it, you don't have so many great moves. Look at this. If you play h6, then look at this. Knight takes f7 is going to happen. King takes f7, e5. This is the way to go. This wasn't playing the game, but I wanted to show you how risky now black's position is. Look at this. The rook is on a8, never participated in the game. It's almost like white is now playing the whole game with the whole rook up. Look at this. After move e5, what should you do? You have to step back. Maybe we try something like this. You play d7, the game is over. Even if you play something like king to d8, again we take. We have now great attack. Even if you try here knight to d6, then with queen to e2, we can attack again the king. e6 is weak. So again, I think you're getting destroyed in the next couple moves. Really crazy position. What should you play? Even if you play d takes e5, look at this. Bishop to e5 is going to happen. You cannot cover with the knight. The knight is controlling c7, d6. So many huge positional problems in black's camp. Even if you try knight to c7, then I think even knight to d6 is destroying black immediately. So many options. So you see, after knight to g5, you cannot play h6. This is the problem. Here in the game, Magnus played now knight to g6 here, but of course, again with the same plan. Beautiful move here by Alisher. e5. breaking and entering here in the center of the board. That's now the way to go. If you play here d takes e5, then the issue now is bishop to e5 again. The problem is now you cannot play knight to e5. You get checkmated. You have to, again, the same problems. The queen is cornered. Look how weird this position was by Magnus Carlsen's rooks, by Magnus Carlsen's queen. Really, really strange setup here on the queen side. So here after move e5, that's why Magnus tried now to lock here the diagonal, somehow the position with the move d5, but Alisher Suleymenov still realized the huge problem around the square f7, and there's nothing that you can do about it. You cannot play rook to c7 to lose the rook. Also with the queen, of course, you're simply cramped, you're paralyzed, you're getting now tactically destroyed. What should again black do? If you try again the move h6, again the same tactic is working. Look at this: c takes d5, rook to d5, e takes d5, queen to d5, e6. Game is over for sure. So that's why after move queen to b3, bishop to e7 was played by Magnus Carlsen. But you can guess what Alisher is doing here. He plays knight takes f7 anyway. Really, really brutal stuff. Look at this. Knight takes f7. This is now the tactical shot of the day. Look at this. After king to f7, c takes d5. Again, white continues the attacking flow. What should you do? Maybe a slightly more accurate move is to play here the move e takes d5. But this is just maybe prolong the game. Still rook to d5. You have to step back. Then we try knight to e6. You have to play knight to f4. You have to now always play just a defensive move. You will play rook to d7, you're trying to trade it off. e6, now you play knight to d6, we get the queen back into the game. You trade it off, bishop to f6, queen to g4, now even g3 is working. So look at this, you have to step back. Now knight to e6 is going to happen. So this is game over, I think, here for black. So Magnus tried even the riskier choice, bishop to d5, but now again rook to d5 by Alisher. Beautiful tactical shot. E takes d5, queen to d5. Now you have to go to f8, knight to d4. Look at this, with the beautiful threat of knight to e6, getting even maybe some smothered mate ideas here against black's king. In the game, knight to f4, controlling the e6 square. We have now queen to f3, hitting the knight, and finally Magnus escapes now with the king, but of course Alisher simply grabs the piece again with the same threats. You haven't solved your issues because you gave up the knight. Many times when you're getting attacked, sometimes it's a good choice to give up back material and get out of this mess. But here Magnus cannot get the pieces into the game. Queen to b7. Look at this. Knight to f5 here, played by Alisher Suleymenov. What should you do? Here b5 was played by Magnus Carlsen. He's trying to prevent bishop to c4, but now bishop to b5. This is the way to go. Look how Alisher is attacking here Magnus Carlsen. Really, really crazy position. If you play queen to b5, then again, it wouldn't be a problem that maybe black loses some material, but actually it's a checkmate. That's the issue. You never connected the rooks to your king, so devastating position. After bishop to b5, Magnus stepped back, and here bishop to c4, played by Alisher Suleymenov. Magnus Carlsen drops back on h8, and now comes the stunner of the day. Here again, I would love for you to pause the video and try to see now the winning idea here for white. White moves and wins the game. What should you do? Here, Alisher Suleymenov played a beautiful knight to h6, and in this particular position, Magnus Carlsen resigned. So if you play g takes h6, you get checkmated. If you try to get the queen back into the game, then there is always this problem here on light squares. We can even also drop back, first of all, and then also deliver check in one moment. You're getting destroyed. So in my opinion, look at this. You have to go here, then e6. Many dirty ideas here are coming to my mind, but really this has to be, of course, a completely losing game here for black. So Magnus Carlsen lost the game today, which is really crazy. Of course, we should really give credit to Alisher Suleymenov, but really strange opening choice here by Magnus Carlsen. Strange ideas. I'm not sure what happened, but congratulations. This was an epic, brutal attack here by Alisher. Great performance. Brave ideas here. He never hesitated. He always had a plan. He always had a tactical shot in his sleeve. So beautiful sharp attack here by the young Kazakhstan player. So congratulations again with this loss. Magnus Carlsen, I think, lost many rating points now. Really, I feel sometimes a little bit sad what Magnus Carlsen is losing, but this simple as that. You see, this GMs also 2500 rated can play the game. They're playing really brutal, aggressive chess. beautiful game it was, in my opinion, so far, even the best chess game from the Qatar Masters in 2023. So okay, I hope that you enjoyed this game. I really enjoyed a lot. Brutal attack by Alisher. If you want to see some other content here on my YouTube chess channel, check out my commented chess games and also my commented chess games played by computers. Here are some links, and if you like this content, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. See you soon with some more videos, and what do we say? Chess is the best, of course.